and silver from the ocean. Commerce round the world. The river power made captive, oil energy freed. Deft hand of searching man build patterns for the future. Where in the world are you? In the capital city of Olympia, it's a tall land and a low land, rolling hills and lovely islands, rainforests, desert drylands, skiing in July, and boating in December on inland seas. On the great river, ships go west to the Pacific, hustle in the marketplaces, and tranquil lakes bow peaks. Glaciers melt with the seasons change. Plains, fields, creeks and streams merge into rivers, all cascade to join. The Columbia River begins in northern ice fields and sweeps in strength and girth on its 1,200-mile course to meet Pacific tides. More than half the way, the Columbia cleaves Washington and molds its southwestern border. Here, upriver and down, massive dams make captive the river's surge. Grand Cooley Dam is the cornerstone of the Pacific North Pool, linking public and private power utilities. The largest concrete structure ever built by man, Grand Cooley stretches 4,200 feet across the Columbia. When spillway gates are lifted, waterfalls high as 2 Niagaras escape. Size alone doesn't tell the story. Here at Grand Cooley, river-propelled turbines spin out nearly 2 million kilowatts of low-cost hydroelectric power. Grand Cooley and companion dams each year generate over 50 billion kilowatt hours of inexpensive electric energy. Energy which pulses along high-tension cables strung from a backbone of towers. Dam builders are at work bringing power production to full potential. There's 18.5 million more kilowatts to go, the Federal Power Commission says, twice as much as the next state in order, California. Engineers tell us 1/3 of the nation's present and potential water power belongs to the Columbia, the nation's second largest river. In Washington, electricity powers the machines and ignites the furnaces of growing industry. But Grand Cooley was not built for power alone. The massive dam blocks the sea-seeking Columbia back 151 miles into Canada to form Lake Roosevelt. It is the largest man-made lake, impounded to equalize the flow of power, creating a gigantic pool of life-bringing water for 1 million dry lands. The water is pumped to a high reservoir, flows by canals, branches off through feeder canals, siphons to the thirsty volcanic ash soil of fertile production, adds more than $750 million annually to the state's economy. Sugar beets by the carload on their way to the refinery. Potatoes by the 1 million tons rooted out by machines. Washington is the nation's #1 producer of late summer potatoes. Washington orchards grow 1/3 of all the apples marketed in the United States. Delicious wine saps, Jonathans, Romes hang heavy on the trees, colored and ripened by the sun. Sorting and grading lines, boxed and made ready for shipment. Washington apples, the pick of the crop, in premium demand throughout the nation and overseas. Strawberries thrive in western Washington's mild and lush climate. soft fruits, peaches and apricots, cherries and plums are premium crops too. The berries go from field to teaser in minutes. Deliciousness. You can't raise beef without cowhands. Washington's herds graze on mineral-rich grasslands. Livestock grows to prime grade in feeding lots. $75 million worth annually form the base of a packing plant industry. Dairy farm herds yield an $80 million flow of milk. Washington is among the 6 leading wheat states. Combine reapers move in tandem over Washington's rolling grain lands when the wheat is ripe. And discharge the golden grain to fleets of trucks. Wheat yields in Washington state are phenomenal, with never a crop failure. Constant cropping of wheatland exhausts soil. So wheat ranchers put the land in summer fallow, restore fertility and nitrogen with a twin crop of peas. It's a big crop. Washington peas, grown side by side with Washington wheat. High-speed mowers, threshers, go to work to make pea pickers obsolete. It's off the vine, out of the pods, into a flume. Washington state is the 2nd largest producer of green peas for processing. Peas for the freezers, peas for canneries, all ready for the cooking retorts in jig time. Trees are a crop too in Washington, a perpetual crop, harvested by selective logging and renewed by sustained yield tree farming. More than half our state is covered with vast stands of forest. 13 million acres of forests west of the Cascade Mountain Range and 10 million acres east. Loggers challenge towering Douglas firs with power saws, cut them down to size. Fir, cedar, pine, and hemlock. Logs for lumber, logs for plywood, logs for shingles and shakes, logs for pulp and paper. Washington's progressive forest industry sometimes takes these logs apart, reducing them to cellulose, lignin, and other components. Nothing is wasted. Shavings and sawdust go into fiberboard, floor coverings, fireplace logs. Used pulp chemicals convert to industrial alcohol and a whole range of byproducts. Bark is torn off logs by the fantastic pressure of power water jets. Band saws rip logs down to slices that further processing makes into finished lumber. Lumber is stockpiled by machine in acres of yards. Lumber ready for transport to the construction jobs of the booming West, of the whole nation, for cargo shipment overseas. Knives peel endless ribbons of Douglas fir, plywood layers to be glued back together again in plywood sheets. Logs are ground and digested into pulp by scores of mills. Pulp for newsprint, for paper bags, for cartons and containers, myriads of uses. This paper rolls off block-long machines 24 hours a day. Paper to be converted, packaged, and sold throughout the country. Gold is where you find it, they say. And you find gold in Washington. A mine experiment station makes constant assays of a great resource coming into full development. But more, there is an astonishing array of 60 mineral deposits. Washington is first in magnesite production. The magnesite ore is spooned from one of the world's biggest open pit mines and fed to crushers. Loaded into this perpetual parade of buckets, the magnesite moves 11 miles over an aerial tramway. Vital to steel processing, magnesite is widely used as a fire-resistant refractory in many industries. Lead zinc is drilled out in tunnels deep underground, conveyed to the surface by moving belts. Metallurgists say that these ores comprise 10% of the world's known lead reserve, 7% of the world's zinc. Petroleum is a different story. Exploration drilling promises more producing oil fields. And oil companies transport petroleum hundreds of miles by pipeline from Alberta, Canada, and by ocean tanker from the Persian Gulf, South America, and other fields. Washington's oil refineries have a capacity of more than 150,000 barrels daily to serve the needs of the second largest market in the West. Natural gas, too, speeds by pipeline from the vast reservoirs of Canada's Peace River and New Mexico's San Juan Basin. Low-cost thermal fuel in unlimited quantity to meet the needs of ever-expanding industry, ever-growing population in the surprising state of Washington. Tomorrow's energy? They call this substance yellow cake. It's concentrated from uranium ore mined from an open pit in Washington. This isn't the biggest uranium mine in the world. It just produces the richest ore. The yellow cake concentrate is shipped in drums to the Atomic Energy Commission. Nearly 1/3 of the nation's aluminum is produced in Washington. Low-cost hydropower, cool and clear industrial waters, efficient transportation have made the state an aluminum center. Electricity from the Columbia dams fuses and smelts alumina into molten metal. Ingots are poured. Then rolling mills grasp the ingot in powerful jaws. The ingot is flattened into shiny sheets. Width. The aluminum sheets emerge in 100-foot lengths. But not all aluminum goes into sheets. It is processed in many forms. Wire mills roll and draw the ingots into cable. Cable for transmission lines, which carry power to melt the ore, to make more wire. An industrial cycle come full circle. Steel mills, too, play an important role in the state's booming industrial complex. Steel is needed, and here it is, to build high freeway bridges, pontoon bridges binding Puget Islands to the Olympic Peninsula, bridges for peak hour traffic flows, bridges. When we can't hang them in the sky, we float them on the water. When waters are too wide to span, we set ferry boats to shuttling. Ocean-going cargo ships bridge the wide Pacific, carrying products of our evergreen state to the Orient, to Hawaii, to Alaska, to world ports of all the 7 seas. Special orders of aluminum ingot logs go to plants in West Germany. Apples for Europe and Latin America. bananas in return for transshipment throughout the western states. Columbia River dams turn the great river into a series of interconnected slackwater lakes, navigable through locks 250 miles inland from the sea. Wheat is loaded into a barge at Pasco, heads down the Columbia River, passes through the Dalles locks. A transcontinental freight train overtakes the slower moving barge. Trains follow the Columbia River gorge and burrow through the Cascade Mountain tunnels to reach the coast. 4 great railroad systems ply to Washington. The state highway system is a model network of secondary and market roads. Limited access highways and high-speed freeways. Avenues of commerce for over 40,000 highway vehicles registered as common carriers. Great universities develop the trained minds and specialized skills which industry needs. What is the surprise of the future in Washington State? Research is setting the guidelines. Scientists from the University of Washington went to work with industry when a Polaris missile destroyer contract was awarded to a Puget Sound shipyard. Dam builders the world over call on Washington State University's hydraulics laboratory for answers to big problems. Skillful technicians put together complicated circuitry for the guide elements of space-probing missiles. What man can imagine, man can do. Space exploration is no place for guesswork. Moving parts for high-speed aircraft and space vehicles must function at extreme high and lows. In this every circuit is tested, every piece of metal stressed for durability. Work to absolute measures with no tolerance for error. What does the future hold? This geophysical dome probes for space secrets. The Hanford Engineering Works in the Columbia Basin manufactures plutonium from uranium for the nation's defense. But more than that, Hanford is a great research center in nuclear science and the programs of the Atomic Energy Commission. What is the formula for building a Hanford? Take Grand Cooley's power, millions of gallons of Columbia River water, 600 square miles of space, uranium, $1 billion, 8,000 skilled workers, technicians, and nuclear scientists. Add a dash of success, you've got Hanford. Nuclear scientists are developing peacetime uses of nuclear energy at Hanford. These ingenious manipulators duplicate the movements of the human hand and arm on the other side of 4-foot lead glass walls. Crystals of yttrium-90 are placed in an ampule for irradiation in a Hanford reactor. These crystals fill an order placed by the University of Washington Hospital to be used in cancer research. Hanford works safely with the atom for our defense arsenal and toward the peaceful applications of atomic energy, which promise new products, new processes, new concepts for tomorrow. Washington is a state on the move. Metropolitan cities raise towers. The adventure of growth and development vibrates in the air. Construction crews are on the job. Shipyards turn out vessels for world commerce. Washingtonians are busy, building an exciting present, building for the predicted future, when by 1975, 10 million people will live and work here within a 500-mile radius. Washington is a happy land with room to grow, room to enjoy living. Of progress, culture, and beauty, where a legendary past is but prologue to a beckoning future. The surprising state of Washington. Inland sea. Great rivers. Industrial water. Cool, clear, and abundant. Wide, fertile lands. Mighty mountains. Where in the world are you? Where else could you be? The surprising state of Washington.